In this idea of the reality generation circuit, let's have a small meditation to lock this in, anchor this in as it connects and relates to the idea of the soul blueprint. Become comfortable as you believe it is possible to become. And remember, during this meditation, you do not need to exclude anything, any sound, any feeling, any sight, any smell. Include everything as part of it. It all belongs, otherwise it wouldn't be. Invite everything in. Leave nothing out. Let its energy add to the energy that drives you deeper and deeper and deeper into the meditation and into an understanding of what is being delivered here today. View, if you will, infinite and empty black space. Endless, endless, endless black space. No stars, no light. You are floating in emptiness. And it isn't even you in terms of your body, just your awareness. Everywhere your awareness turns, everywhere your awareness looks, empty, empty, empty black. Until you spot within yourself one bright spark of light. Like a tiny, tiny, tiny star floating in the infinite blackness. Just one. Just the one that you are in the center of your consciousness. Even though it is in the center of yourself, you can still see it as if it were in some senses outside you. As if you were looking in on yourself. Yet it is in the center of yourself. This is your first relationship and connection to Source and all that is. And from this, the light expands and expands and expands and expands until it fills all of the space with whiteness, bright light, beautiful light. Until there is nothing but the light, and you are in the center of it. And then, in that center, a small spot of dark, like a little black hole. In the center of all the infinite light, a small black speck floating in the center of your being. And you know that if you look into that speck, you will see the infinite darkness that you experienced a moment ago. But you know that if you look into that infinite darkness at the very center, you will also see another spark of light. And if you look into that, you will see infinite lightness that you are experiencing now. But you know at the center of that will also be a speck of dark. On and on and on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever without end will always be the darkness and the lightness and the dark. One feeding into another, one expanding from the other, one giving birth to the other, and without the other, neither exists. For you cannot know one without that you know the other. For without the other, there is not the knowledge that another exists. So to have one, you must have the two. Dark and light, light and dark, extend from one and the same creation. They are Source. They are all that is. All that is. This light and dark, one unto the other forever, thus then creates patterns within itself. Patterns within patterns within patterns of darkness and light, lightness and dark, patterns and patterns and patterns, filling itself infinitely with patterns of light and dark in a variety of shapes, sizes, configurations, extents, distances, times. Light and dark, vibration upon vibration upon vibration, like ripples in a pond, overlapping, 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 until there is nothing but small vibrations everywhere of light and dark. And out of this sea of seething back and forth polarization energy, certain facets start to crystallize and become self-aware, reflective consciousnesses, miniature versions of all that is, infinite unto themselves and yet finite compared to the infinite. Again, infinity containing finiteness and the concept of finiteness extending to infinity. More and more crystallizations until the entirety is crystallized, but full of small crystallizations, autonomous unto themselves. Each of these crystallizations is made up of a signature of many vibrations. It is a soul blueprint. Each unique, different. And each, looking into the center of itself, creates a window, a prism, a triangle, a tetrahedron in its very center of space, time. 3 positions of space, 1 of time, the tetrahedron, 4th dimensional structure, through which, like an eye, it peers into an unbelievable experience of the reality of all that is in 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time, and projects itself through that window, creates a personality construct to hold itself, contain itself, identify itself as a vehicle for traveling in that type of space, in that type of reality. Each personality being like unto its own time-space ship, in which the consciousness can project, in which the consciousness can ride and experience that reality, much like a diving bell experiences the deep blue sea. That personality construct is created from the definition of it, the feeling of it, the behavior of it. And thus then, the quality of those things determine the quality of the view you get through the windows in each of those sides. The more clear and balanced the definitions and beliefs, the more clear and balanced the emotions and thoughts, the more clear and balanced and in alignment the behaviors. The clearer the view, the more transparent the view of the reality you are exploring in space-time. And then you encounter a whirlpool, a current, an eddy, a seismic event, a ripple, a tidal wave, something that throws you off course. And you go spinning off into the depths of the dark, dark ocean, all the way down to the blackness, all the way down, until you come to rest on the cold, hard ocean floor of physical reality. And you lie there for a moment, stunned, beset upon by great pressure of the water and energy above you, holding you down, holding you down, holding you down. And you do your best to move, and all you can do is crawl along the ocean floor with the great pressure on your back. And you vaguely remember what it was like to swim free, what it was like to move up or down, left or right, forward and back, what it was like to see the light high above you as you crawl through the sediment of ages past, through the history of the rocks and the beginning of time. And you crawl, and you crawl, and you crawl in the darkness for a long, long time. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to realize that you are crawling up a slightly inclined slope, slightly upward, so slight you almost didn't recognize because it is still so dark that there is no relative way to tell, but you can feel the difference in angle. The angle is different. Your head is once more slightly elevated, slightly pointed back up. You still cannot see the light, but you know it's up there somewhere. And so you keep crawling and keep crawling, upward, upward, upward. And the slope is long and shallow, and it seems to be taking forever and ever, and there still is no light. No light. No light. And as you keep crawling and keep crawling and keep crawling, suddenly your eyes adjust and you realize it's not quite so dark anymore. It is now shades of gray. And you allow the gray in to feed you information, to remind you of the brilliance of the light, even though this is a pale comparison. It reminds you and feeds you and inspires you and spurs you to keep going, to keep climbing, to keep climbing, to keep climbing. And the slope bends upward, more abruptly, more abruptly, more abruptly. And you begin to feel some of the weight being lifted, the pressure, the load lightening up. And a little more light leaks through, and a little more light leaks through, and now you can see you are not alone. There are others all around you crawling up the slope with you. And you realize you were never really alone. But just so in the dark you could not see that you had company. And upward you go, and upward you go, and upward you go. And pretty soon it's lighter and brighter and lighter and brighter. And now you're not crawling anymore. You're starting to swim a little bit. You still sink down a little bit to the slope, but you can push off and float for a while. Push off and float up. Push off and float up and up and up and up. Until your feet are only barely touching the slope. And you are starting to stand. And your head is high. And now you can see others around you, not only of your own kind, but all sorts of life, floating up with you, inviting you higher, higher. And there is beautiful, beautiful light and music coming from the surface, above the surface. And you float up and up and up, no longer caring what the slope of the floor is, for now you are free of it. And you float upward and upward and upward. And now the light is getting bright and brighter and brighter, and so bright you almost have to squint. But soon you get used to it. It is shimmering, iridescent, sparkling, beautiful, alluring, inviting. And in one breathtaking splash, you break the surface and can see the infinite expanse of the ocean all around you, and all the others bobbing up and down in the sea, looking around, blinking their eyes awake, moving from one density to another, their heads poking up into the air, breathing the air again, the cool, fresh air, filling your lungs, invigorating, inspiring, energizing you. And to the point where you begin to rise higher and higher and higher in the ocean until you actually rise above the water, floating above the water, rising into the sky, higher and higher and higher, into the clouds, through the clouds, above the clouds. And you look down below you and see the beautiful blue ocean and the swirling white clouds. And you rise higher and higher and higher and look toward the sun the bright star of your solar system, and move toward it. But all around you now is blackness and other stars. You are in space, and you look down upon your beautiful globe, your beautiful earth, and you remember the long path. You remember diving down, wanting to play, wanting to explore, wanting to investigate. And you remember the unexpected eddy, the unexpected current, the unexpected whirlpool that drug you down to the ocean floor. And you remember being down there for a long, long time. But then you remember crawling, and then you remember walking, and then you remember climbing, and then you remember rising, and then you remember being back up here above the clouds, back up in space, moving toward the sun as it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and moving into the sun, into the heart of the light, the bright, fiery light, into the heart of creation. And the light is bright, but it does not burn. It supports and sustains, and it is what you are made of. And you look back from the sun, from the light of all that is, to the earth, and you remember it as a journey, as a treasured path, as an experience never to be forgotten and always to be cherished. And you are now of the stars. You are the stars themselves that give birth and life to the various planets upon which many such journeys are possible. And you marvel at the myriad possibilities within creation, the infinite number of journeys that have been taken by a variety of versions of you, simultaneously, side by side, across the gulfs of space, time, and dimensionality, going on multiple journeys, infinite multiple journeys simultaneously, and collecting yourself back into the oversoul that is the star of many systems, that is the light of consciousness of many dimensions, and to the source of all that is. Your oversoul rises with other oversouls, each oversoul containing multiple millions of lifetimes, and each oversoul rising together to blend into the one, the all that is. Each experience fully remembered, fully retained, and yet also simultaneously harmonized, harmonized, harmonized with the one. This is your natural state of being. This is who you are. And the soul blueprint is but a reminder of this connection. It is but an echo of this connection. Yet through it, your personality can always be reminded by listening to the clear tone, the clear chord, the clear ringing of the bell that reminds you that whenever you are having difficulty and doubt, whenever you are in trouble, come home, come home, come home. You can always leave again. And you can always come back. Back and forth. Back and forth. Lubricating the path, gliding from the personality to the soul blueprint, to the source, to the soul blueprint, to the personality, to the multiple lives, back to the source. Any direction you wish, any way you wish, any when you wish. Take a deep breath in and lock this certainty in. Lock it in. It is who you are. And understand that you are now changed. And that the personality you were the personality that came to this transmission is not the personality who will leave this transmission. And this is a different transmission on a different world, on a different day, in a different place. And that what began is another place and time from where you are now and who you are now. Breathe deep and know the certainty of who you are. Incorporate this vibration in every cell of your being. Take the time you have made. Take the time you are making to express that which is you as fully as you can. Take another deep breath. Open your eyes if they are closed. And connect to a new reality, a bubble reality, that is not the same world that was here before, not the same person that was here before. Let go, let go, let go. And connect into the new you. One more deep breath with your eyes open. Feeling clear, clean, fresh, and transparent. Now then, looking at the charts you have been given with respect to the reality generation circuit, we have, of course, explained many times the idea of how you create reality through the prism of your personality. But this is a little bit more in-depth so that you can really follow the circuitry of energy and understand that as we describe this, this reality generation circuit is what is overlaid on top of the soul blueprint. So you bring through the crystallization of the soul blueprint, and in that crystallization process, you create the personality construct, which is represented by the triangles in the center of the reality generation circuit, and which is explained even in more detail on the sheet that just shows the two triangles by themselves. So that central triangle is the same triangle as on the other sheet that is represented by the balanced and imbalanced state. Is that clear to everyone? Yes. All right. So the idea is that this reality generation matrix, if you will, of energy, this configuration, vibration, this signature, template of energy, is in a sense superimposed over the soul blueprint and allows the soul blueprint energy to filter through this personality matrix into the reality generation circuit. So the idea is that it comes up through, the soul blueprint is translated through the prism, which is, as we said, the idea of the beliefs and definitions, the thoughts and emotions, and the behaviors, the actions that you put out into the world. And this forms the three-sided prism of your personality. This then, in receiving from source your basic energy of existence, and from source the idea of your blueprint, your soul blueprint, you then put out this vibration in whatever combination the beliefs, emotions, thoughts, behaviors all work together in through the prism. Put that out as a vibrational energy, a projection, so to speak. That projection bounces off the mirror of all that is, which is the outer circle, and is reflected back to you. And thus then into the personality, a translation is made, an experience is created of that reflection, and that experience is given back to the source to add to the overall knowledge of all that is, the overall experience of all that is, and what is possible within all that is. But that experience then is fed back in, reinforcing the personality prism. which then creates another projection, which then gets another reflection, reinforcing that which was projected, which then creates another experience, which reinforces the personality, which goes back to source, which comes back to reinforce the personality again. So you see, it is this cyclic idea that once you establish what your personality is in terms of beliefs, emotions, and behaviors, that is constantly reinforced over and over and over again. And unless you yourself can get to the center of that prism by balancing the beliefs, the emotions, and the behaviors, it is difficult then, and has been difficult for you to tap into the fact, more directly back into the soul blueprint, to remember that this personality is not really who you are fundamentally, and that you always have a choice to short-circuit that generation mechanism and start again with a new belief, a new idea, a new emotion, a new behavior, and create a new cycle in the reality generation circuit. Now, the reason it exists this way, and the reason it is so reinforcing in this way, is because if it were not built that way, if it were not structured that way, then you would not be able to experience fully any given belief. This is a deeper explanation of what we have said before when we talk about the fact that any particular definition or belief is always going to contain a self-reinforcing mechanism in order for you to understand that you have to have a full experience of that belief to the apparent exclusion of all other beliefs. And that's why sometimes you find it difficult to change your beliefs, because of this generational mechanism that reinforces whatever belief you originally focused on as being true. But now that we can illuminate the reality generation mechanism itself, and you can start to really see it in your mind as a circuit path, you can begin to also include the ability to short-circuit that anytime you want by grounding yourself straight from the center of your personality prism right back down to the soul blueprint level, short-circuit the effect, short-circuit the belief, and come back up to the surface with a pause, a neutral state, and say, all right, wait a minute. Let's reinvent from the ground up. Let's take from the soul blueprint level where I know my themes and I know myself, and let's reconstruct the personality prism and bring it back into balance with belief, emotion, and behavior, and let a new generational energy follow that circuit and get reinforced rather than the one that no longer served me, rather than the one that was perhaps a little bit out of alignment with my fundamental soul blueprint, my basic self, my natural self, my fundamental true self. Because in the earth reality experience and in physical reality in general, because physical reality can only be experienced in a linear space-time framework, that's the definition of physical reality, linear space-time framework, because you have created an experience that involves space and time, this is why when you create the soul blueprint and then the personality overlay, time and space can actually cause these things to drift out of alignment over time. You follow me? In other words, the very idea that you have included the concept of space and time into the equation of your experience of life actually creates in the equation of your experience the possibility, the ability for you to get out of alignment with yourself. You see, on higher levels, there's no possibility of getting out of alignment with your true self, because we are not involved in the idea of as much space and time. But when you steep yourself deeply in a space-time matrix, then the very idea that you're dealing with space and time can actually become part of the equation to such a degree that it can actually have an effect on your ability to stay aligned with your true self. Because if there is space, you can get out of alignment over time. You see? So the idea is to make these circuitries in that sense that were invisible now visible to you, so that you can understand the equation you are creating, the circuitry you have been working with, so that you can understand why it has gotten out of alignment over time, and allow yourself, now that you know what equations you are working with, to bring it back into alignment. In other words, this is just teaching you how to use the actual structure of the reality you find yourselves in. You follow me? Anyone not clear about this idea? All right.
Would you just give an example of the projection reflection experience, that circuit with a concrete example that we might follow along with?
Well, projection and reflection really are nothing more than the idea what you get back. In other words, what you believe most strongly to be true is what you actually see reflected to you in your physical reality. Does that make sense? Yes? That's what I mean by projection reflection. Now, it isn't always necessarily a one-to-one reflection in the sense of, well, if I see someone come into my life who is a very mean and vindictive person, that doesn't mean I am a mean, vindictive person, that I'm putting out mean, vindictive vibrations in order to attract a mean, vindictive person. It can mean that, but what it usually means is that the idea of what you put out creates the possibility, creates the probability, creates the space and the atmosphere into which such a person might come so that you can get out of that interaction whatever it is you need to get out of it for your own purposes, for the exploration of your own theme. So it is still an issue of having projected and then gotten a reflection, but you have to determine what the reflection means for you. In other words, you have to put the meaning into the reflection that you prefer to have in order for you to get out of it what you prefer to get out of it. Does that make sense? But the kind of reflection you get is the kind that you needed to attract in order to give you the proper opportunity to do what you need to do with it. Make sense?
Or else it can go out of alignment.
Or else it can go out of alignment. And the idea is that misalignment itself is the product of the fact that you are dealing with a delay factor, that you're dealing with a time-space delay factor between the projection and the reflection. So that you don't know you've attracted it in that sense because it seems to be coming to you autonomously. And you don't necessarily feel, in that sense, the idea that you yourself are out of alignment with your fundamental self because you don't remember it, because it's been so long since you felt connected to it. So space and time actually play a part in the equation of your inability often to see what is transparently before you in terms of what you're creating, because that factor itself places time and distance between the initiation and the manifestation. Does that make sense? Now, on one hand, the idea is that it is actually fundamentally very quick, very automatic. Obviously, if it were not, there would be gaps in your reality experience. Because in that sense, obviously, as soon as you put out, you do instantly get back. But what I am talking about, the delay factor is in your ability to recognize that that's what's happening. Because you are creating so many requirements of plugging in and so many requirements of needing an association. In other words, the mechanism is so overlaid by space-time equations that it is invisible to you and you can't understand your connection to it. You've buried the mechanism in a space-time matrix, and so you don't see the direct connection between you and the manifestation, even though it's happening instantaneously. You don't see it because your perceptual ability is slowed down by space-time. Not that the manifestation is slowed down, your perceptual ability of your relationship to the manifestation is slowed down. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
Anyone still not clear about this? Yes?
The other part of it, the experience and the creation, how does that fit in?
How does it fit in?
Yes.
In what sense?
Well, you said there was a whole loop.
Yes.
And I'm not seeing how it all fits.
How it all fits with what?
Well, you explained the projection reflection.
Yes.
Could you tie that into the experience, to source, and from source creation? How does creation?
Well, first of all, of course, you are created by source, yes?
Yes.
All right. That gives you your existence, yes?
Yes.
Within existence, you create the idea of your relationship to existence, yes? How you create your relationship to existence determines the experience of existence you have, yes?
Yes.
Are you sure? Are you with me?
My head's been a little spinning. So.
Oh, all right. How you create, how you define your relationship to existence creates your experience of existence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So your experience is directly related to how you define your relationship to existence. That's another way of saying that. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So once you have then the experience is then reflected back to source to add to source's perception of itself and what it is capable of providing as experiences to all of the pieces source has created itself to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's the loop. Does that make sense then?
Mm-hmm.
Does that clarify what you were asking?
Mm-hmm.
You're sure?
Yeah, I was going to add one more thing.
Yes.
When you want to kind of reground yourself, you're saying go back to your blueprint. Why not just go right back to source?
You could, and that's fine. And perhaps that might actually be one of the better ways to do that. But eventually, in order to actually have an experience, you will have to come back from source through the blueprint anyway. So in a sense, that's what we mean by going back to the blueprint. Yes, you can connect all the way back to source, but you have to come back through the blueprint to reconnect to your personality construct in order to have another experience. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you. And so we are privileged to be able to participate in this transitional time, privileged to be able to see the process in action. You have no idea how many classes are learning from you. You are the curriculum for thousands, millions of beings learning through your example what you are going through. And as you awaken those portions of your soul blueprint, as you cross-connect, you have family members, other soul groups, in other realities that are also realizing that you are waking up and recognizing your relationship to them. Remember, everything we are transmitting to you right now is being heard by billions of other beings telepathically. And remember that you are receiving more information right now than you are hearing through the words coming out of the channel's mouth. There is a lot of correspondence going on right now. A lot of cross-connecting, a lot of things opening up. Sometimes you will feel it now. Sometimes it will come out in your dreams. Sometimes it will come out in the synchronicities in your life later. But one of the sure symptoms of your gathering yourself back together is the increase in synchronicity in your life. And I'm sure many of you have begun to experience more and more and more of that. Yes? Let it continue and learn from it. Trust it and follow it. It doesn't always necessarily mean what you may at first think it does, because you may be slightly out of touch with the kind of meaning you may be giving the synchronicity. But if you are willing to always know that whatever the synchronicity is, and whatever form it takes, is always representative of the playing out of your theme in a manner that serves you best, then you will be able to make the choice to relate to the synchronicity in a positive way, even if your mind cannot yet fully understand what that relationship is. Doesn't matter. If you know you have changed, then you will relate to all synchronicities in a positive way, and you will allow them to show you how they work in your lives. And if you find yourself believing in the negative momentarily, that's all right too. Because it's part of your path, it's part of your process. Invite even that doubt in, because you will learn from it eventually. We have absolute faith in all of you. We know where you're heading. We are only here to remind you that you know too. And we are here to help reflect the pieces of the puzzle you have created yourself to be, so you can put yourself back together into a whole picture. The soul blueprint idea is one of those pieces, one of the ways of gathering the pieces back together into the here and the now, in the present, to keep you in the present, yet paradoxically by looking at the idea of what you have been in the past. So as you contemplate this chart of the paths you have all taken to get where you've come to now, allow yourself to look at every single one of the labels on that chart and see how you feel about it, see how you relate to it. The degree to which you relate to it will give you some indication of exactly how big a slice in your pie chart that vibration is or is not. Some of these vibrations may have such a small slice you can barely relate to it. Some of them may have very big slices so that they seem overwhelming. But that's all right. Know that they're all there. Your lives as dolphins, your lives in Atlantis, your lives in Lemuria, your lives in other dimensions, your lives in other realms, your lives as spirits, physical, non-physical, your lives on Mars. Doesn't matter where or when, it's all part of the mix now. As you use this chart to ring a bell for you, by looking at these names, by looking at these pathways, by seeing how you relate to it and how it relates to you, by getting a sense or a feeling of whether or not you do relate strongly or weakly to it, it will begin to draw the picture for you of your pie chart, of your soul blueprint, of how you have arrayed and fanned out these vibrations into the whole pie that you are. So use that chart in that way. And then recognize that that band in the center is now where you are. And look and see how you have gone from the idea of universal and galactic and down into the solar system and down onto the earth and compressed and compressed and compressed and compressed and compressed yourselves. And now, as you go through the compression, through the eye of the needle, as you say, and come out the other side, you will be expanding again, going global, going to solar system, going galactic, going universal, going ultra-dimensional. So as you began and came down to the focal point, so you will go out again in your expansion in the future as you awaken to more and more and more of who you are. And this will be the hourglass that will symbolize the time spent doing this in linear terms. And right now, you are right at the neck of that hourglass. Each little grain of sand that you are squeezing through that neck.
One of the most humorous things we ever hear is when a very selfish one says to you, "Don't do that, you selfish one." And what they mean is, don't satisfy your selfishness, satisfy mine. And you just got to wonder, who gets to decide whose selfishness gets to be satisfied? And we say Source has decided long ago. Everyone gets to have their selfishness satisfied. Every perspective of self is of paramount importance to Source. And when you are in alignment with your own desire, your world will be perfect. When you think about it, if every point of consciousness standing in every situation were preferring something, and Source was answering every preference, then wouldn't the whole be better off? So how is it that you got in competition with one another? How is it that you came to believe that if he gets what he wants, somehow I'm deprived of what I want? Why do you put yourself in competition for the same prize when the resources are infinite? In fact, the resources expand exponentially to the percentage or the perfection of your desire. When you want it, if this time-space reality has given you the facility to desire it, to identify it, to want it, this time-space reality has the facilities to provide it for you in manifestation. You couldn't want it if it wasn't possible to get it, you see. So when you understand that you are not in competition for any resources at all, You never say, well, I have been well for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I've been well for as long as I can remember. So I'm going to be sick for the next 10 years and allow some poor sick person to have my share of wellness. You don't do that, do you? Why not? Because you don't see the relationship between your receiving of the wellness and their not receiving of it. You don't think you're sucking up the wellness. And yet, relative to abundance or money, you often think that the rich guy's getting more than his fair share. So you want to chop up the pie and distribute it evenly, only to discover that it all ends up back in his pile again really soon. So you divide it all up and spread it all out evenly again, and it all ends up over in his pile again very soon. And you say, what's going on? I must not be worthy. And we say, no, you're just beating the drum of not enough money. He's beating the drum, money comes easily to me. He's beating the drum that says, they can't take it away from me as fast as I can earn it. He's beating the drum that says, this is an abundant universe and all good things come to me. And it's fun to figure out how to let it in. And I'm not taking score of my well-being by my money. I'm taking score of my well-being by how good I feel, and this is really fun. I'm really enjoying the money flowing into my experience. There's a poor guy over here saying, you've got all the money, you've got all the money. How come you've got all the money? Why do you think he's got all the money? You get a few billion people complaining that he's got all the money. Sure, he's going to get all the money. In other words, the things you vote most against, you're really voting for the other side. When you vote against somebody, when you push really hard against something that you do not want, you're holding yourself in vibrational discord to something that you do want. In other words, you help the other guy win over and over and over and over in pushing against what you do not want. Well, this has been fun. We are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. We want to help you to realize that you are the creator, that you are the vibrational attractor, that you have guidance within you, and we will show you how to move up the emotional scale. Can you separate the pain that you're feeling in your body from the emotion that you're having about it? Is it possible to hurt in your body and feel hopeful? It is. And when you separate the emotion from the physical action state of being, is it possible to be bound in traffic that is not moving at all and be happy? Or when you're bound in traffic that is not moving at all, to just owe it to the world to be frustrated out of your mind. Frustrated out of your mind, practice it often enough, and you will be bound in traffic everywhere you go, even where there usually is not traffic that is binding. The universe will find a way of helping you to rendezvous. You'll brush your teeth just that much longer. You'll take that one more phone call, or you'll forget what you're doing and turn left instead of right, and you'll find yourself right in the middle of what you've been practicing vibrationally. But if you're sitting in traffic and you're enjoying what you're hearing on the radio or on your tape player, if you are sitting in traffic and you're singing with your kids, looking at the flowers out the window, making the best of your moment, making peace with where you are and choosing your vibration rather than letting the conditions choose your vibration. In other words,
can be somewhat lifted. Now, putting this into what might be called a
you're doing your own thinking. You're not just responding to conditions. You're thinking in spite of conditions or along with conditions. Can you feel the difference? When you start thinking, regardless of the conditions will change. But if you only think about the conditions, nothing can change for you. You see it, you comment on it, you see it, you think about it, you see it, you tell others about it, you see it, you remember it, you see it, you comment on it, you see it, you tell others about it, and then it actualizes around you and you say, well, it's true. Shouldn't I tell the truth? And we say there are plenty of truths that make your heart sing and plenty of truths that make you feel sad. Tell the truths that make your heart sing and ignore the rest. Easier said than done, we know, but that is your work. Your work is to care so much about the way you feel that you are not willing to put up with anything that doesn't feel good. Not anything. Not a squeal in your sound system. Not a nagging wife.
there can be a great degree of
Nothing.
acceleration.
Don't put up with anything that doesn't feel good.
Reality to be.
Find a way around it. Find a way to make it feel better to you.
On 12:01 after midnight of that day, you will find ships landing everywhere and everything being different on your planet all at once. No. But it is representative of a general window of transition. It is the demarcation of the crossing of a critical threshold. But here is now a new way I will allow you to look at this idea. A new way we are allowed to let you look at this idea of what the year on your counting of 2012 represents, and the reason that the Mayan calendar ended there as a demarcation line. The real reason, legalistically speaking, contractually speaking. That year, shall we say, legally represents the ending date of the quarantine. Your world from that point forward will no longer be off limits, legally, for the rest of the galaxy. Your quarantine is up in that year. End of that cycle, end of that contract. Again, it doesn't mean ships will be landing the next day. But what it means is they can land the next day. Legally, they can land the next day according to galactic law. You are no longer off limits, no longer hands off. Now, specifically and especially from that date forward, when the interactions of contact occur and how things go on your planet will be totally in your hands. You will make the ultimate determination of when the best timing will be for such interactions, because we will no longer be hampered or hindered by the idea that we are restricted by the quarantine. From that point forward, we'll be taking our cue completely from when you are really ready for such interaction based on the changes you are willing to make on your planet. But as we perceive your energy from that date forward, as we have said, it will most likely, as we read the energy now, take no longer than somewhere in the window of 2015 to 2033 for open contact to take place. Most likely between 2025 and 2033. But between 2015 and 2025, there will be more and more and more individual contacts, more and more ability for people to go to different places on your planet, see our ships, begin the beginnings of interaction, begin the protocols of interaction, begin the very beginning phases of interaction, culminating in more and more open contacts officially, as you say, between 2025 and 2033, as we read the energy now. But only after 2012 will this be possible, because the quarantine will be done. Your isolation from galactic community will be over. Time to join the club. Truly join the club. Which means there are many changes you need to make in your own lives, in your own beings, and upon the earth in terms of your activity, your degree of action, your degree of putting out there who you know you are, and really taking the soul blueprint to heart, to heart, to heart, and living your dreams, living your lives as fully as you can, and responding differently in the way you prefer to everything that occurs upon the earth, in every circumstance, in every situation, with every person, coming from the heart, coming from compassion, coming from passion, coming from excitement, coming from love, coming from creativity, coming from beliefs and definitions you prefer. And discovering the ones within you that don't work for you, and dealing with them, working with them vigorously, excitingly, creatively, inviting you to find those things, inviting yourselves to find the beliefs and definitions that don't work for you. Inviting it, accepting it, working with it, acknowledging it, living it fully, even as you sense that we do. Because we've given you certainly a number of hints that our society lives that way. And I think you can certainly see it and feel it in the vibration of energy that we give off. Or are we being too shy? I will tell you a little secret. The strongest vibration any of you have ever felt from us is about 5% of the level we actually exist on. 5% maximum have you ever experienced from us about what our level of reality and the ecstasy that exists within it is actually like. That level of ecstatic existence is your birthright too. Don't deny it to yourselves. Don't begrudge it to yourselves. Don't withhold it from yourselves. Explore who you are with abandon. Explore who you are with willingness, with openness, with acceptance. Everything, the dark, the light, all of it. Explore who you are. It's beautiful for what it is. It's perfect for what it is. And when you allow it to be perfect for what it is, you can then allow it to be what you prefer it to be. For as we have said many times, you cannot change what you do not own. So own all of it and then allow it to be what you prefer it to be. So that as you expand outwardly now on the other side of the hourglass, you can walk hand in hand with each other, equally validating the differences between you. For it is only through the equal validation of all your differences that you will find true unity on your world. It is not homogenization that will give you unity. It is the validation of all your differences that will give you unity. Because you are different from each other for a reason. To reflect to each other those things that you yourself did not choose to experience in this life, but that through another you can. And you can use their life as an example. The fact that you, in your life, can also be an example to them for a different way of doing things, different ideas, different sharings, different experiences. This is the value of creation, in that there are an infinite number of ways to do anything. That is the value of the one, is that it is the many, and the many are the one. Cherish the many and the one, not this or that. Don't go to the one running from the many. Don't get lost in the many running from the one. It is this and that, not this or that. It is the one and the many and the one. The many is the one is the many. Include, including exclusion. Because exclusion is a choice. You don't have to do the excluding, but include exclusion as an equal choice you don't have to choose to do. But it is equally valid as a choice. Exclusion is equally valid as inclusion as a choice, but you don't have to exclude. The paradox is that when you include exclusion, you will only be including as a choice. Learn the power of paradox. That's where you reside, in the center where dichotomy comes from. When things seem to be polarized, understand they both have to come, equal opposite ideas still have to come from a common center in you. You are the paradox. You are the paradox. Learn the power of the paradox. And learn that what you are actually experiencing in this transformational time, in this transitional time, is to be able to tell the difference, is to be able to discern the difference between two primary states of being. You are learning to discern the difference between using
I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we will extend to each and every one of you our deep and profound appreciation in allowing this transmission to take place through this particular gateway at this time and in this fashion. Once again, each and every time, your civilization helps to co-create this kind of a communicative link. It expands our understanding of the infinite by allowing us to experience through each and every one of you that many more perspectives that the infinite can express itself within. So we thank you for this gift. We would like to begin this transmission this day of your time with the following idea. We have discussed with you from time to time different ways of expressing or describing the concept of what physiological reality is. First and foremost, once again, we remind you that physical reality is not really something that you exist in. Physical reality exists within you. It is a concept experienced apparently outside yourself, because that's the definition of how you experience yourself as physical reality. Not in, as physical reality. So everything that is physical is, in a sense, an expression or a reflection of your consciousness interacting with itself, experiencing itself from a different point of view, from a particular modality, from a particular perspective. Now, we have discussed the idea of the structure that your consciousness creates within itself that represents the structure of physical reality. All of these, of course, simply being analogies, but from time to time, an analogy and a symbol can help illuminate another way to interact with yourself as a physical concept, as a physical consciousness, or physicalized consciousness. So we would like to add one more understanding this day of your time, another symbol, another analogy, another illustration for how you can look at the idea of the structure of physical reality, and perhaps it may give you a little bit insight into how you can utilize or blend with or facilitate your experience and creation of physical reality a little bit more effortlessly, a little bit more easily than you have heretofore done. Many of you now know that in this age of acceleration, you are exploring the expansion of consciousness, in which you are discovering that you are more than just the concept of a localized awareness, a localized being. You are expanded. You exist on multidimensional levels. At the same time, you also experience this particular aspect of your collective consciousness as a localized physical presence. But the idea is that everything, as we have said, is vibration. Everything is frequency of energy. And what you consider to be solidly physical is really nothing more than a particular frequency of light, of energy, that is perceived by you as being solid and impenetrable. But this is simply a matter of frequency rate, oscillation rate. The idea, therefore, is to begin to really understand yourself as a physical construction, as really a vibration of light, a vibration of electromagnetic energy. If you will begin to imagine that everything you call an atom, a subatomic particle, a solid idea, is really not solid as a piece of matter, except in the idea that it is a fluctuation of energy that you perceive as solid, that is vibrating at a certain rate that makes it seem impossible to pass through. If you begin with the idea that everything is just the same kind of energy in motion, vibrating very rapidly, you can understand how it can be made to seem impenetrable or solid, in that something that is moving back and forth very fast, you may not be able to get in between it fast enough, in between the spaces fast enough, and so by coming up against something that is vibrating at a high rate of speed, it may appear to be something you cannot penetrate. But there are, as all of you already know, spaces in between those vibrations. And the idea of interpenetration and allowing physical reality to be more malleable, more flexible, more easily manipulated by you into the form you wish it to be, is to learn to match the frequency of physical reality, so that when you are matched, when you are synchronized, you can then more easily slip into the spaces because they are not vibrating faster than you, these other energies, and thus you will be able to allow the concept of physical reality to be expressed through your consciousness in such a way so as to have a higher degree, shall we say, of control over exactly how physical reality manifests itself. So the way you need to do that is to accelerate your own frequency, match the vibration of the frequency of your reality, and then when you are in lockstep, you will find that physical reality really is nothing but, in a sense, a projection, a, shall we say, self-realization of one particular way you may have of looking at yourself, and you will understand that physical reality is really nothing but a mirror, a reflection of whatever the strongest idea of yourself is what you may hold to be true at any given moment. So one exercise you can do, if you wish to participate now, very briefly, is to imagine, if you wish to close your eyes, this is all right, imagine that a particular solid object, or your body, is literally made of light, vibrating, flickering at a certain rate, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, but so fast it is almost imperceptible. In your imagination now, slow it down enough, or speed up your perceptibility so that you can see the flickering, almost as if you were seeing your body as a ghostly flickering image, vibrating very rapidly, but you can see the flickering. You can see it there, not there, there, not there, there, not there. Then, allow yourself to see an object in physical reality and see the idea of your physical reality also flickering. Every object, on, off, there, not there, at a high rate of speed. Perhaps various objects vibrating at various rates of speed, so that nothing is really vibrating at exactly the same rate. Allow yourself now to look at the concept of what you might consider to be your future self, your more evolved self, a self that operates on a higher frequency rate, vibrating, flickering faster than the image of the body that you have in your mind that represents your present self does. See the comparison. Make a comparison in your mind between the you are now, flickering at a certain rate, and the you that you prefer to be, that you want to be, vibrating, flickering very rapidly, at what you would call the ideal flicker rate to represent the concepts of experiencing only love, joy, creativity, all those kinds of things you associate with higher self, future self, ideal self, your most exciting vision of your life and who you want to be. Then, imagine, feel the flickering that you're doing now, and look at the flickering you want to do. Look at the frequency you want to exist on in your imagination. Feel the difference, and then feel your own energy now going faster, faster, flickering faster, faster, vibrating higher, 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 until you reach the resonant frequency of your future self, until you feel, see, imagine the you are now and the you want to be flickering at exactly the same rate. When it does, when both bodies flicker at the same rate, imagine them merging, blending, interpenetrating one another until it becomes one idea, one thing. When you then see that, look at all the objects in your physical reality that are vibrating at different rates, different frequencies, and one by one, each object, imagine it coming into higher and higher and higher frequencies until each and every object matches the frequency that you are now operating at. Until you begin to see everything glow with light at the same level that you are radiantly glowing. As you bring, in this exercise, in this meditation, each and every object to the same rate that you are vibrating at, allow yourself to imagine that you are, in fact, seeing a reflection in a mirror of another angle, another idea of your consciousness, because your consciousness can take any form and does take all forms. If it works for you to do it this way, absorb the object once it matches your frequency. If you see the chair, if you see a pencil, make it vibrate to the same level as you and then absorb it. Let it interpenetrate you. Become one with it. Feel the harmonic resonance accelerate and increase when you absorb it. as if another note has been added to the symphony of the vibrations that make you up. Do this with everything in the room that you happen to be in when you choose to do this in a meditative state. You will feel yourself, with practice, doing this as often as you want, you will feel yourself actually accelerating bit by bit, day by day, moment by moment, more and more every day. You will feel your energy rise. You will begin to feel and actually perceive more light in your reality. You will begin to perceive physically an effect that will make it seem as if your reality is more flexible, more malleable, less, shall we say, obstructive, less solid in that sense, that things are flowing more easily. You will begin to see other things as a reflection of you, feel them, know that they are, rather than just intellectualize this concept. You will begin to really understand that everything is made of light, and that everything is nothing but a reflection of the light of your consciousness. So do this exercise. Practice it as often as you want in a meditative, relaxed state while you are breathing deeply and fully, because oxygenation is important. It is one of the primary keys of centering yourself and giving yourself the boost of transformational energy you need to lock in these meditations, these imagination exercises. Do this as often as you wish, and over time you will find you will be accelerated, and you will see the effect of this acceleration in the ease with which many of the different aspects in your life begin to unfold synchronistically and magically. We thank you for allowing us to share with you this particular tool and exercise. It is now yours to use however you wish, or not use at all. It is up to you. But in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization this day of your time and allowing us to experience this interaction with you, I ask now in return, in what way may I and my civilization be of service to you? I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? We would like to begin this communication this day of your time with the following notion, the following concept, the following idea. As many of you may be beginning to realize, as you expand your exploration of consciousness, the concepts that you call space and time, as we have discussed now and then, are becoming a little bit more slippery, as you might say in your language. Many of you are actually beginning to experience odd and unusual shifts in time and space, odd and unusual, as you say, coincidences and synchronicities. You may begin to see an acceleration of many more events where you wind up exactly where you need to be when you need to be there. And you must understand, of course, as we have said many times, that synchronicity is one of the ways to recognize that you are expanding your consciousness and beginning to understand that physical reality is not really a place that you dwell in, but physical reality is something that dwells within you, dwells within your consciousness. And as you change the idea of who and what you are as a being, as an entity, as a consciousness, then the concept and the experience of physical reality will, of course, change along with it. Many individuals are beginning to experience great slippages in space-time. They are finding themselves sometimes winding up in places they have no idea how they could have gotten to, yet they got there nevertheless. They are finding that they may be experiencing slippages in time, finding themselves arriving at places that heretofore it would have been impossible for them to arrive at in the amount of time they had in which to get there. Individuals may even find themselves with extra time, finding time slowing down, speeding up, altering, accelerating in a variety of ways to afford them the opportunity to accomplish whatever it is they need to accomplish within whatever domain of consciousness they are exploring at that moment. You're going to find space-time becoming much more flexible, much more malleable, much more plastic, as you begin to extend your senses into the idea of other realms. You're going to find that physical reality really is only an idea. And that as you relax your grip upon the rigidized structure that you have always been taught physical reality to be, you will find that the rigid structure of physical reality will relax as well. You will be able to accomplish many different things in short amount of time span. You'll be able to expand yourself in a variety of ways and access information that it might have previously taken many lifetimes to access, but now are accessible perhaps even within what you call the blink of an eye. You'll be able to stretch yourself in a variety of ways, and all of this will have to do with your willingness to know, to understand more and more of who you really are and what you were really created to be in the sense of your natural beingness, your natural consciousness. What this simply involves is a process of relaxing the notions, the ideas of how you have thought about yourself, letting go of those things that no longer have anything to do with who you know in your heart is truly who you are. The more you let go of those things, the more you only choose those things that are of the frequency and of the vibration of your heart's desires, of your excitement and your joy, you will find that reality will accelerate greatly, expand greatly. It is all a matter of clarifying your definitions, because it is only your definitions, your strongest belief systems, that define what you experience physical reality to be. So as you relax those old definitions, as you incorporate new definitions, you will find your reality truly becoming the playground that it can be, where you understand that your thoughts are things, and that physical reality exists within you, and is a dream, which doesn't make it any less real, because that's what reality is. It is what you dream it to be. It is the strongest dream you have, the strongest definition you have, the strongest belief. And as you change them, you will see, guaranteed, your physical reality will follow suit. But you must watch your intention. You must watch your integrity and why it is you may want to change something. For if you're not clear about your motivations, you can then be very confused about what you get back from the mirror of physical reality. Your motivations must be clear. Your intentions must be sound. And in that way, always, if they are, you will find it very easy to understand how to get the reflection back, because you will understand much more clearly what kind of an image you are giving off, what kind of an energy you are radiating that determines the reflection and the experiences that are occurring in your lives. This is, again, not philosophy, this is physics. This is the way it works. What you put out is what you get back. It is as simple as that, although, of course, no offense, we understand your civilization are masters at complicating things. But that is all right, because that is a valid way to learn. It is the way many of you have sought to learn. But now, because you are exploring the idea of spirituality and expansion of consciousness, by whatever means you may deem it to be so appropriate to do so, for all paths are true and all paths are correct, and there is no one right way, you will then, by doing so, allow yourself truly the opportunity to know. It does not have to be complicated, even though reality is complex. Complex in the sense it is rich, like a tapestry of many threads. But understanding the thread you are, the cord you are, the vibration you are, is what will allow you to pluck that cord and play the tune that allows you to feel most like you. The real you, the natural you, the true you. The you at the core of your existence, of your consciousness. That's what it's all about. Simplification, clarification, redefinition of who and what you are, so that you can get the reflection in your physical reality mirror, for that's what it is, of who it is you really know yourself to be. Many of these principles that we are now discussing will, of course, as you say, come up in many of the discussions we will have with you this day of your time in this communication link. And we will together see how perhaps these principles can be woven into your personal day-to-day experience of life, so that you can know how to apply them and get a direct physiological result, for after all, that's the key. You are expressing yourself as physiological beings, therefore, it is only correct that you should be able to take these principles and apply them in your physical life and get a physical change, get a physical result. And I guarantee if you use them clearly, simply, you will get that result, as long as you are clear about what you're doing and why, what your motivation and intent is, and what you define yourself to be. So we thank you for allowing us to remind you of these ideas, and again, once again, of course, we always stress, these are our perspectives, and they are in no way, shape, or form meaning that you have to understand them, you have to believe them, you have to apply them. We are doing what we do because it is what we love to do. We do not share these things with you from our civilization because we think you need to understand them, because we think we are better than you. No. We do this because this is what we love to do. If you listen, if you apply them, if you take them to heart, that's your choice. It will not diminish by one iota the joy we get out of babbling on. But we thank you for being present and allowing this communication to take place. In return for the gift that you are allowing our civilization to experience in this time of sharing with you, I ask you now, in what way may we be of service? You may begin sharing by whatever procedure you so desire. I'm going to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? We would like to begin this interaction this day of your time by pointing out very strongly to you, once again, from a slightly different direction, the idea now of what you call the acceleration going on all around you, which is really the acceleration going on within you. And that now you will see more and more and more of the symptoms, shall we say, of this acceleration of your energy, this evolution of your energy, this evolution of your consciousness upon your planet through the kinds of symptomologies in your physical reality, such as what you call synchronicity, which is another term for what you call coincidence. But by removing the concept of it being accidental, you understand that everything in life is an orchestration. Everything is the result of a choice that your consciousness makes, and every choice your consciousness makes has an impact, a profound impact upon everything that occurs in your physiological reality. Synchronicity, being in the right place at the right time, seeing exactly, hearing exactly, meeting exactly the right people when you need to, the right thing when you need to, the right phrase at the right time, exactly when you needed to, knowing that something is going to happen and then seeing it manifest. All those ideas of the increase of sensitivity of your senses to other energies, to the timing of things, to the orchestration of life. These are the things that you now will find happening more and more and more on a daily basis in your reality as you become more accelerated, as your energy becomes more heightened and more in alignment, more synchronized with the higher energies of the dimensions toward which you are evolving. You are now being able to draw consciously, no longer so much subconsciously or unconsciously, but more and more consciously upon these energies, upon these knowingnesses, so that rather than just ascribing these ideas of knowingness to your dream life, to your imagination, now they are beginning to leak, shall we say, into your day-to-day physical experience, so that you are becoming more psychic, more prescient, more telepathic, and being able now to see all around you more examples of the appropriate and perfect timing of just being in the right place, as we said, just meeting exactly who you need to meet, when you need to meet them, so on and so forth. And your life begins to become an ecstatic explosion of synchronicity, one moment after the next, unfolding magically, miraculously, as you may use those terms. But you must understand something very important. What you have for thousands of years in your language called miracles and magic is really the way life naturally works when you allow it to. When you get out of your own way, so to speak, when you stop attempting to impose the idea of control over how life unfolds, then you will see that miracles are the natural order of the day, that life can come together in spontaneous creation, providing exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and not a moment before, but not a moment later either. Let your life work that way by starting to get more practice of getting into the flow of the idea that your life already works. You don't have to make it work, it already works flawlessly, because each and every one of you were created in the image, as you say, of the infinite creator. You are a co-creator, and everything you think, every choice you make, every idea you have spontaneously generates a result in your physiological reality. Because physical reality is not something you dwell within. Physical reality is an extension of your consciousness, a projection of your consciousness, a mirror that reflects the strongest definitions, the strongest beliefs that you have been taught to think are true, that you have been taught to think are the most likely things that are possible to be experienced in your reality. So when you change your thoughts, you change your definitions, and you allow yourself, you grant yourself the permission to know that life can be miraculous as the natural order of things, then bit by bit you will see your life become so. It will unfold more effortlessly, more magically, more creatively, and you will know that you are at the core, at the center, at the seed of all those things, that life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And bit by bit, you will get a better sense of that, and you will know that control is really letting go. Because if life already works, you have but to simply see a vision and act according to that vision, and with absolute conviction and certainty know that if you are at one with that vibrational vision, then life will just unfold naturally in that way. You don't have to wrestle your life into position. You have for thousands of years been taught that this must be so, and look where it has gotten you. You have lives of struggle and pain and suffering and dis-ease, and you are very, 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 very tired. And so it is time to let go and allow yourselves to know you're already in control just because you are made as an aspect of creation, and everything you do is natural to you. It is second nature for you to create. It's just that you have been out of touch with the fact that you are doing the creating of the things you experience in your life. Once you get back in touch with the knowledge that all the things that happen in your physiological reality are because of the definitional beliefs you have within you about what you think is possible, you can change those definitions and see your reality change in accordance to that shift within your concept. It really is fundamentally that simple. Now, we understand that because of many of the belief systems you've already had ingrained within you for countless generations, it may not at first seem that simple to change your reality immediately as you would desire to. But really it is that fundamental, and once you get a handle on it, especially now in this day and age on your planet, this transformational age where you're exploring expansions of consciousness, you will see in short order, I guarantee you, that by applying these new recognitions, these new definitions, this new awareness of yourself as being the creator of your reality, if you apply that in every thought, word, and deed, I guarantee you will see the result in short order, very strongly and undeniably. Many of you have already begun to see this happening, manifesting on a day-to-day basis, and each manifestation strengthens you, gives you the confidence to know that that's the way life can be. We understand, believe me, we understand that this will seem shocking to many of you, that the idea that you have been taught of what you have called for thousands of years a fairy tale imagination is actually the way life really works when you allow it to. That life is magical. That's all it is. It's the magic of the transformation of the idea of yourself into some tangible reflection of experiencing that idea of yourself. That's all it is. Physical reality is made of you, made of your consciousness. You do not live in physical reality. Physical reality lives in you. You just project it outside yourself, apparently, in a type of an illusion that gives you the ability to play with the idea of creation in a way that allows you to appreciate the mechanism itself, that has time delays within it, so that you can actually see that there is a mechanism involved between the thought and the thing. In higher spiritual levels, where there isn't the idea of time and space, the instant you think of something, it manifests instantly. Physical reality is for the purpose of slowing that process down so that you can learn to appreciate the idea of what it is you are creating, so that you can take your time and change your mind and say, well, no, I don't choose this, I prefer that. It gives you the ability to savor the creation, to take your time, to enjoy it, to roll it around in your consciousness before you manifest it. That's one of the benefits of the limitation of physical reality. But of course, what you also perhaps didn't count on is that limitation also can allow you to forget that you yourself decided to create physical reality that way. Now, however, at the end of the cycle of forgetfulness, now that you've played out just about every limiting game you can in your physical reality, you are once again going into the cycle of remembering, oh yes, we created this game to savor creation. And now we know that it has taken us far enough so that we can actually forget that we are the ones creating it. But that was the name of the game. Because in that sense, only by forgetting can the creator really experience this idea. Each and every one of you experience the idea of physical reality as if it really were totally new. For the first time. Pristine. For that is what forgetting is for. so that you have an absolute experience without the idea of remembering that you created it, which in some senses would knock the experience down, would lessen it to some degree, would not make it quite as potent. But now you are going into a new cycle where it is not necessary to forget. You now have mastered the idea of creating your reality in a variety of ways so that now you can create it in a different way. You will not completely necessarily as a civilization transcend to non-physical reality yet, but you will now allow your physical reality to become more plastic, more malleable, more flexible, so that you can really see the connection between the creation and yourself, between consciousness and physical reality, so that now you get to see the process going backwards, back toward the idea of your initial creatorhood. This is what is going on your planet now, is the recombining, the integration, the reintegration of all the segregation and separation you have created for thousands of years, so that you once again will remember that you yourself are, each and every one of you, a unique and total aspect of all that is, of creation itself. Does this make sense to you? Does this translate into your language adequately? With this in mind, and in applying this in specific or general ways now, in these upcoming dialogues, we will attempt to explore together a little bit further how this concept can be applied to your daily lives so that you can see the changes that you do prefer. In return now, at this time, for the gift that you have given to us, our civilization, in experiencing you, I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Great. We would like to begin this interaction this day of your time with a discussion on the imagination. It is something that all of you have, but perhaps many of you have not allowed yourselves to really utilize since you were children. Sometimes when you on your planet are raised in the paradigms and structures of society that you have created for yourselves, your imaginations over time as you move into physical adulthood become a little bit, shall we say, rusty. And so the idea is to add some lubrication to those rusty imaginations and allow yourself to realize what a fascinating and powerful tool the imagination actually is for many of you in having desires to change things in your life, in having the strong conviction, the willingness to change things in your life. Sometimes find that you are lacking in certain areas in knowing how to go about doing that. And I will tell you that even though it may seem to be a very nebulous thing, the imagination is one of, if not the most powerful tools you have for actually allowing you to change your life in the way that you want to. As children, you all know how to use your imagination flawlessly. It is a natural thing, an instinctive thing, an intuitive thing. But very often you are drummed out of the habit of using your imagination by the things that you are taught in your society, such as, oh, do grow up. Oh, stop daydreaming. Oh, that'll never happen. Oh, don't be silly. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Oh, be an adult. Oh, please. All these excuses, all these ideas of conformation, making you fit the mold, sometimes has a tendency to dull the imagination, and therefore you find yourself in certain circumstances and find that there is no way out because you have forgotten the magic doorway through your imagination. As children, you all know how to use it, and you do it flawlessly, instinctively, as we said, and you will find that if you stop and think about it a moment and remember back to your childhood, or just take a glance at any child on your planet who is playing, you will see that when they are imagining themselves to be something, they are not really pretending. They are that thing. In thought, word, and deed, and all their actions with total conviction, they see the picture of what it is they believe themselves to be, and in that moment, vibrationally, they really are that thing. Now, if your society were actually structured in such a manner as to actually allow children to take advantage of their imagination at an earlier age than you allow them to do, you would find that many members of your society would be able to actually go into many different kinds of disciplines and callings and projects and careers far, far, far earlier than you allow them to do right now, because they really do have the capacity to do so much earlier than you think that they do. The idea is to get back in touch with that playful imagination, that freedom of spirit, that freedom of vision, so that you can create the blueprint, create the template that gives color and shape and form to your dream, your inner wishes, your true desires, your heart of heart wish, so that you can know that whatever the strongest images are that come up in your imagination that represent what you say you would really rather be doing in life, really are more than just the concept of wishful thinking or daydreaming. They really are the pictures that are accurately and precisely representative of how you could be living your life. Why? Because your imagination is vibrationally keyed to your particular personality. And you contain a set of probable realities that you have laid out for yourself in this physical reality. And your imagination is like the library of all the things that are achievable by you. And the things that contain the highest energy, the most passion, the most excitement, and the most creativity, the most vivid images that come into your imagination with regard to the things you could be doing in life are the images that are most representative of the things you actually could more easily achieve in life than the things you're doing that you don't enjoy. But when you have taken it upon yourself to include all sorts of belief systems that say your imagination is nothing, it's not real, this is reality, grow up, then you short-circuit your ability to use your imagination as an actual template, as an actual blueprint that very precisely defines in pictorial form the kind of life you actually could be living, and shows you, when you see yourself in that imaginary future, in that imaginary endeavor, in that imaginary picture, shows you how to act in order to become the frequency of that reality, and in so doing, to attract that reality into your life, to attract all the circumstances, the situations, the opportunities, the people that can allow you the opportunity to manifest, to solidify, to crystallize around you the picture you see that is representative of your highest passion and excitement in the gateway of your imagination. This is what your imagination is for, to show you who you really are, what you really can achieve, what is really capable of happening in your life. You must allow yourself to remove the blocks, the chains, the straitjackets you have placed upon your imaginations by diminishing it, labeling it as something less than your intellect, that it isn't necessarily a product of the real world, that it isn't possible for you to achieve what you see in your dream of dreams, your vision of vision, your heart of hearts. You must allow yourself to drop these limiting definitions of your imagination, because when you do, I guarantee 100% you will discover that everything you can picture for yourself that is representative of your highest passion is absolutely achievable by you in very effortless and joyful ways. It doesn't mean you will not have challenge. It doesn't mean you will not grow. It doesn't mean you will not have puzzles and mysteries to solve, but you do not need the struggle, the effort, the pain of attempting to become what it is you know in your heart you would like to be, because you will find that actually, in fact, all of the pain, all the struggle, all the suffering, all of the spinning your wheels, as you say in your language, where it seems like you are running as fast as you can and getting nowhere, all of that comes from attempting to be who you are not. When you allow yourself to be who you really are, which your imagination can show you in clear images, you will actually find that the so-called impossible dream, unreachable vision, is actually the most effortless and joyful thing that could happen in your life if you will allow yourself to believe that that's who you really are. Guaranteed. You all follow along? All right. Now, there are many ways to allow yourself access to this imagination, and in the discussions we shall have this day of your time, some of these methodologies will come out, but I will tell you that one of the strongest ones, and everything will key into this, will be that once you have the picture in your imagination, you must take action. In every way, shape, or form, as close
in proximation as you can to the images you see in that vision, in your imagination. You must act like the you in that dream as closely as you can in order to create the vibration that will attract the elements of that reality and allow them to manifest. Action and imagination must be bonded into one idea, not two, one. So that as you see, you are, and as you are, you experience. That is how reality is created by you. You take actions that create a vibration that attract the opportunities representative of that frequency. When you are operating on a certain frequency, you can only get, this is simple physics, you can only get the reality representative of that frequency. When you are operating on a frequency that is not representative of the reality you want, there is no way for you to get that reality. Simply by definition. Let this be a simple principle that has profound impact in your life. And you will understand that it will take very little to make all the difference in your world if you are but willing to act on the imagination you are capable of conjuring within you. Now, in return, once again, for your willingness to allow us to experience the gift of your consciousness, I ask you, in what way may we be of service to you? I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? We would like to begin this transmission with the following notion that we would like to entitle, That's the Spirit. The idea really is to understand, as many of you are beginning to, that you have in your language many indicators that the idea of being at one with your spirit involves and invokes the idea of a higher frequency, a higher energy that you can utilize in your day-to-day reality to great effect, to great application. Such phrases as, that's the spirit, get into the spirit of the thing, a spirited exchange, give you the indication that you know, at least instinctively, that the idea of being aligned with the concept of spirit brings more energy to whatever endeavor it is you are participating in. The idea to also, of course, understand is not so much to think of yourself as a spiritual person, but more accurately as a personalized spirit. It has been said already on your planet and recognized that you are not really so much a human being having a spiritual experience as you are a spirit having a human experience. You are spirit, and in that sense, simply your physiological personality, your physiological body, is simply your spirit in physical terms, in a physical modality, in a physical translation. So when you think of yourself exploring the concept of consciousness, of spirituality, please recognize that what you are doing is really looking at your true nature, your true self. And this in no way, shape, or form is a denial of physiological reality. Please do not make the mistake of understanding the idea of exploring spirit as a divestment of the physiological reality. As we are saying, physical reality and spirit in essence are one and the same idea, but just different modes of expression of that idea. In the same way that the idea of ice and water, liquid water, are the same substance, so too the idea of the physical and the spiritual really are made of your consciousness, but are simply different forms, different expressions, different conditions of the same substance, so to speak. So there really is no great separation between physical reality, spiritual reality. There really is no great gulf between them. They are only slightly different by a matter of frequency, by a matter of vibration, by a matter of effect, by a matter of perspective. And as you now are opening more doorways within your consciousness to explore the whole idea of how you can pragmatically and practically apply
the concepts of spirituality to your day-to-day physical existence, you can take a moment to realize that it really isn't a great leap to make, that you can do so, that you can apply more and more understanding of spirit to physical reality, because really, fundamentally, when you say it comes right down to it in your language, living your physical life to the fullest, acting on your joy, being as creative as you possibly can be, being as loving as you possibly can be, acting in the direction of your truth as much as you possibly can, living your physical life to the fullest is one of the greatest acts of spirituality you can possibly express. So the idea really is to not necessarily think that exploring spirituality has to involve looking hither, thither, and yon, as you say, somewhere way out there into some great and mysterious dark place necessarily that is difficult to find. But all you really have to do is really look at yourself, understand yourself, and understand that it is only by your definition of yourself that you create the apparency of physical reality from the true existence of your spirit, of your consciousness. So allow it to be more one thing, would be our suggestion. Allow yourself to begin to see and feel the concept of spirit as your true energy. And everything you do, everything that you deem to be worthwhile as an endeavor, then by all means, get into the spirit of it. For if it is worth doing, it is worth doing fully. Otherwise, then, if it is not really what you really believe to be representative of your truth, your joy, your excitement, your best endeavor, I would strongly suggest that you don't do it. Because when you fill your life with things that are not representative of your true frequency, you make no room, you leave no room for the things that truly are. And your reality can only then reflect to you the things that are representative of your joy, the things that are representative of your happiness, to the same degree that you are willing to express your full energy of spirit and your full recognition of what is true for you in the life you chose to live. For you did choose it. It is not an accident. You orchestrated it in many ways, not always all the specifics. You always leave open the element of surprise, spontaneity. But in many ways, the general themes of your physiological lives, you have chosen and orchestrated what kinds of ideas you will in general explore. So make the most of this by knowing that you are left as a physical personality spirit with the free will to determine exactly how you will explore those general themes you laid out for yourself. To what degree you will allow yourself to be yourself. For that is fundamentally the only real purpose you have in your life, to be yourself as best as you possibly can. Anything else that you may consider to be a purpose, a goal, a career, an achievement, are not really so much those things as simply they are the side effects or the expressions or the modalities of the true goal of your life, the true purpose and mission of your life, which is simply be yourself as best as you possibly can, because you've never been this you before and you will never be this you again. Therefore, take advantage of the uniqueness of yourself in this moment, here and now, and express it freely. As you say again in your language, go for it. That's the spirit. Allow yourself to be one with self. Live your life in joy and do those things that you know are true for you. Now again I remind you on another subject that this timing, this cycle is of great advantage to you, to the idea of accepting your spiritual vibration and energy. In your typical full moon cycle, there is a great amount of opportunity in these kinds of timings of energy to get in touch with the inner self and open those doorways for the blending and the balancing of the polarities within the self, the day and the night, symbolized and reflected by your particular planet's moon in its brightness in the midst of the darkness. the opportunity to see the polarity exhibited, reflected, symbolized in your heavens by that full bright moon, and to get into touch with those deep things that have been perhaps in darkness, hidden from your consciousness, to shed the light, the inner light upon them, bring them into full recognition, and do not fear them, for they are only bits and pieces of yourself that in some senses have become lost in the darkness along the way, have become forgotten from time to time. Gather them back together. Pull yourself together. Integrate yourself in that way. Take advantage of this time. The final symbolism, represented also by the season on your planet that your particular people in your locale happen to be in at this time in your hemisphere. What you call your upcoming All Hallows Eve, your Halloween. Very significant and symbolic in a variety of ways, in that you are allowing yourself at least an opportunity to begin to even consider playing with the idea of your fears, letting it actually be all right to be scared for a while and actually having some fun with it. You can take advantage of this timing to really go deep with this idea and know that there really is nothing to fear about facing your fears. Have some fun with them and let them give you the information that they contain for you, to point you in the direction, to put you in touch with the issues and the things that have been forgotten within you that do require integration. Have some fun with it. That is what you use your Halloween for. Use it anytime you wish. That energy is available to you all the time, but now very strongly in this cycle. And it is representative of not only the ending of a cycle, but the beginning of a cycle, as was symbolized long ago in your civilization. For what you call your honoring of your date of Halloween is, in that sense, the anniversary, as you would say, of the night before the destruction of Atlantis in your history. And then your November 1st, the day of the destruction, and then your November 2nd, the day after. So All Hallows Eve represents the idea of the imminent unleashing of what you say colloquially in your language when all hell breaks loose. And that is why you have now symbolized it in this holiday ritual of Halloween, when the spirits are free to roam. The idea is to take advantage of knowing that even though the cycle long ago may have ended in what you would call destruction, now there is an opportunity by getting back in touch with this energy to know that you're at the end of another cycle, wherein you can make the decision not to necessarily express it in the way that you did then many thousands of your years ago. You have come a long way in your lessons since that time, and it is up to you to now decide to use that energy more positively instead of utilizing it in the way it was used back then, some 11 to 12,000 of your years ago. You are now at a time of transition and transformation in your society. This is why you are all exploring the ideas of consciousness, why you are all hearing so much more about the idea of other worlds, other dimensions, other lives, other levels, what you call us extraterrestrials. The idea is simply all part and parcel of you getting in touch with more of yourselves, and by getting in touch with more of your own consciousness, beginning to realize that there is more to get in touch with. The more you get in touch with yourselves, the more you open up to the possibility that there are more levels of reality to interact with. So the more integration, the more you can interact in various ways with an integration within different civilizations, different dimensions of spirit, and so forth. So again, take advantage of it. Get into the spirit of the thing and have fun. We thank you for allowing us to reflect and remind you of these concepts, these symbols, these suggestions, in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization. In allowing us to communicate with you through this window at this time, I ask you now in return, in what way may I and my civilization be of service to you? I will say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? We would like to begin this link, this dialogue, this interaction with the following idea. We have of late been communicating to many of you the notion of techniques for learning how to really stay in the moment, live in the moment, be in the moment, as you say in your language. For it is essential, if you really want to manifest the reality of your preference, the reality of your joy, that you learn to do so. Because only by living in the moment do you allow yourself to be capable of receiving the kind of transformation and the kind of change you say you prefer in life. The reason for this, fundamentally, basically, is because there is only now. Anytime you look, it will never be then. It will only be now. And therefore, if you are not living in the now, you are not, shall we say, present enough to receive the reflections, the gifts, the ideas that you say you prefer in your reality. If you are not at home when opportunity knocks, then it shall go unanswered. It shall go unexperienced by you. So learning to stay in the now, learning to not judge what is going on in your life, but learn to work with it in a constructive and positive way, will assist you greatly in helping you manifest or allow for the manifestation of what you say you most strongly desire in your heart of hearts that your lives can be. The idea is to understand again everything as energy, for everything is but energy in motion, emotion, and thus in that sense allowing yourself to feel, to vibrate in harmony with the idea of your joy, your excitement, your unconditional love is what will allow you to be operating on the highest frequency possible. And in operating on the highest frequency possible, you will simultaneously be allowing yourself to be the truest version, the most natural version, the most original version of yourself that you can. And in doing that, by operating on that high frequency, by functioning as your natural self, your life can unfold automatically, effortlessly, magically, miraculously, as you say. For miracles are really not the exception to the rule, they are the norm. Your reality has been created to be the exception to the norm of experiencing magic and miracles all the time. Synchronicity, or what you call strange coincidence, is really all there is. It is the way that your physical reality has of interpreting the fact that everything is connected, that everything is one. You can only experience this linearly by seeing this connected to that, this happening at the right place, the right time, just when something else very important happened, coincidentally. That's the way that your physical reality can best express the fact that everything is connected, that everything is one, that everything exists in an overall concept of eternal now. But when you experience yourself as physical beings, you bring with that experience the definition of breaking things up into time and space. And so the closest you can really get to the concept of really experiencing everything eternally now is the idea of the synchronicity, the coincidence, that right place, right time, connective feeling that lets you know that everything really is one, but you can experience that in a one after the other kind of effect in your reality. But still it can unfold very effortlessly, very magically, if you learn to stay in the now. And again, the key to that is to be in love with what's going on in your life, to be in love with yourself utterly, unconditionally, and totally, for you deserve to be. You were created in the image of the all, that is, of the infinite, and there is no reason why you should treat yourself with any less respect, or any less value, or any less deservability than the infinite has for you by creating you to begin with. If you were worthy of creation in the eyes of the infinite, why argue with that gift? Why discount that idea? Why judge yourself so harshly? Understand that when you may be misaligned with your integrity, yes. Understand when you may choose to do things that are not necessarily constructive, yes. But if you understand that you are making choices that are not representative of your preference in a beneficial way, then learn from that in a positive way and let that lesson teach you what it is you do prefer. We would simply suggest, although of course it is your life, you can do what you want, we're not here to tell you what to do, but we would simply suggest strongly that you Take the time not to spend your time to worry that you have done something you don't want to do, spending time judging yourself for being such a bad person for having done this, or that you're doing something wrong, or that you don't get the hang of it, or one excuse or another. For in choosing to focus on that, you're only adding more judgment, more time, more negativity to yourself, and making it more difficult for you to be able to see your beauty, your naturalness, your immediacy, your ability to stay in the moment, your ability to love yourself. It is your choice. It is up to you. All realities are valid. All experiences are valid. Even those in which you judge yourself in a negative way are valid because, again, you can learn from them. But it isn't so much, again, the idea of what happens to you. It's what you do with it, what you make of it, how you respond instead of react to it. It's learning to allow everything to serve you in a positive way, regardless of how you have been taught to think those things are supposed to be in your life, for what reason, or this or that, or that they're supposed to be negative, or supposed to be one thing or another. There is no supposed to be. There is only what you have been taught to label things as. And while we recognize that certainly you can know through objective observation when somebody is perpetrating a negative act, simply energetically negative in the sense that it is separational or segregative, it still does not require that you judge it in a negative way and add more negativity to it, but that you allow yourself to recognize that even though others may be intentionally negative in their actions, by remaining in the understanding of living in the moment, by remaining in the understanding that you have the choice to extract from every situation a positive result, no matter what the original intention might be, then that is all you will experience, is that positive result. And in extracting only the positive result from it, you also, coincidentally, reflect back to the best opportunity you can to the other individuals who may have been originally perpetrating negative intention, the idea of how a situation can be transformed from negative to positive by letting them see through you not a reinforcement of their negativity, but a beautiful, bright, and shining reflection of positive understanding of your strength, that everything in your life happens for a reason, and let them see that light and give them the opportunity to recognize that they also have that light within themselves and do not have to perpetrate anything negative at all in their lives in order to get what they want. For you're all already as powerful as you need to be, because you were designed that way to get whatever you want without ever having to hurt yourselves or anyone else in order to do so. It's how you were designed. You are a complete kit. Being made in the image of the Creator, as you say, means you contain everything you need to be a creator of your reality. You are missing no pieces. You have it all. It's just that by allowing yourself to experience the concept of physical reality with its definition of limitational focus, you have also learned to play the game of forgetting that you are in the image of the infinite. But that's all right too, because that's a valid way to experience yourself, and that's a valid part of the infinite, to forget that you are a part of it. But now is the time that you are, as a planet, as a species, as a civilization, remembering. You are awakening again from your deep, deep sleep of forgetfulness, and you are exploring realms of consciousness and many other new ideas that are really old ideas, but in a broader scale, in a broader sense, because you are waking up from the dream of forgetfulness into the dream of remembrance. All it takes is being in the now, living your joy, following your dreams, acting upon them, being your true self, and everything will begin to unfold in a natural and positive and creative and loving way, because it can only be a reflection of what you choose yourself to be. Remember, physical reality is but a reflection of your idea of yourself. There is nothing outside you. There is no outside. It is all inside. But it is a reflection back to you of yourself, of your state of being, of what you believe is most possible for you, or what you might fear is most possible for you. Whatever the strongest driving force, strongest emotion is, energy motion, is what the reflection will bounce back to you. Again, in the same way that we use the analogy of your glass mirror. If you look in the mirror and you see a frown on the reflection, do you reach out your hands and pull and push at the reflection in order to change it into a smile? No. You change your own face first, or you will never see a smile in the mirror. If you do not change yourself, you will never see the change in your reality. But the soonest that you change yourself, the smallest change you make within yourself, true change, knowing change, you cannot but help but see that reflected back to you. That's how it works. This is physics, not philosophy. That's how it works. We thank you for allowing us to reflect to you this idea that you already contained, and we thank you for allowing us to function as the mirror to remind you of what you already knew. In return for the gift that you are giving to our civilization now through me, in allowing us to experience all of you, I ask at this timing, in what way may we and I be of service to you? You may begin with sharing in any way, shape, and form.